Hello, everybody. This is Ralph Martin, and I'm the founder of rjqualityconsulting.com. And in this video, I want to talk about how to implement ISO 17025. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ralph Martin, and I am a certified auditor for ISO 17025 for a very large accreditation body known as Perry Johnson. And I do audit laboratories, so I do have inside information on how to implement ISO 17025 and what an auditor might look for when they do either your initial accreditation audit or reaccreditation audits if you're already accredited, or if you are a laboratory looking to get ISO 17025 accredited. You'll like this video because I'm going to walk you through what you would do to go about getting ISO accredited. So first of all, I wrote this blog article. If you're watching this video on YouTube and you want to read my full article, just click on the link in the description box and read the full article. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I do have a lot of information on ISO 17025 and other standards as well. So I'm on my blog article now. If you scroll down, you'll see that I kind of outlined really, first of all, understanding ISO 17025 and how to implement it. The standard, the first thing you want to do if you want to implement ISO 17025, of course, is purchase the standard and read it. So I know that seems obvious, but you'd be amazed how many laboratories I audit and they don't even really have a copy of the standard. So seriously, you want to read the standard, understand the standard, and become familiar with it. The standard itself is broken into several sections. You have the scope, general requirements, structural requirements, resource requirements, process requirements, and management system requirements. So in a sense, the standard is really broken up into two major sections. You have the management side of the standard, which is sections 4, 5, and 8 of the standard. And then you have the technical side of the standard, which is sections 6 and 7 of the ISO IEC 17025 2017 version of the standard. To implement the standard, for a laboratory to actually get from ground zero to getting audit ready for a third party accreditation body to audit you, there are really kind of three different kinds of approaches you can do. The first approach is the do-it-yourself approach, and identify the subject matter experts within the laboratory for certain key areas, develop an implementation plan, and create the required procedures, and conduct an internal audit, have a management review, and basically learn the standard. And it's basically a do-it-yourself method, which requires an understanding, obviously, of the standard. And I'll go through what you would need to do if you wanted to do that route. The other route would be to hire a consultant to walk you through and basically do it for you. And then there is another approach, which is to purchase online a ISO 17025 toolkit, where you basically get procedures that are all of the required procedures for ISO 17025, including the required forms and necessary documentation to implement it using pre-made templates, essentially. That is an option that may be a little less expensive than hiring a consultant, yet more time effective than doing it yourself. Both of those methods, whether it is hiring a consultant or using a toolkit, would be a faster approach and a more guaranteed approach that you'll do well in an audit. The other approach is a hybrid of the two or three. Depending on the laboratory's budget, it would essentially mean you could purchase, for example, a toolkit and have somebody help you implement that toolkit and sort of do a hybrid type thing. In other words, you wouldn't hire a consultant to do the full implementation because the toolkit is part of the documentation, but you could hire somebody to help you utilize your template approach, which could be an alternate method to doing a kind of a template, and then if you're unsure if it's effective, then having somebody walk you through that. So what I'd like to do now is kind of show you a document that you could utilize if you want to implement the project yourself. So basically what this is a project checklist for ISO 17025 implementation. This is something I use for my clients. So I am an ISO 17025 consultant. You could hire somebody like me to basically take you from the starting gate to the finish line. And that's what I do. I would create all of your required procedures, all of your documentation and all of that, and then basically guarantee that you'll get accreditation. If you would like to do that, you could get a free 45-minute consultation with me, and I can get some specifics about your laboratory and give you a quote. It's not I'm not a big huge consulting company, so I'm not really that expensive. That's one way. If you're doing the do-it-yourself method, what you would want to do is, first of all, you would need to get upper management support of your organization. So upper management is who's going to be providing you the resources internally for you to implement the project. So you would want to, research the benefits of getting ISO 17025 accredited, present these benefits to upper management, and then get a formal approval for a project. And then your next step would really be to decide whether you're going to use a consultant, or if you're going to be using documentation templates, or if you're going to be writing all the procedures yourself. Obviously, the next step would be to purchase the 17025 standard itself, become familiar with it, educate your project team after you've developed one, write your plan, and create a project plan that you plan on doing. What is your time frame? If you hire a consultant, for example, somebody like me, I can get you accredited most likely within 3 months, usually, depending on the size of the laboratory and the number of test methods that you want on the accreditation, of the scope of your accreditation. Then what you want to do is, define who the stakeholders are, um, and then organize a kickoff meeting and start the project. Determine the context of the laboratory and identify your interested parties. So there is a requirement in Section 4 of the standard that talks about defining your organization and things like that. You want a list of external documents, and identify your interested parties. For example, interested parties in the case of laboratory accreditation could be your accreditation body, the company that is performing the audit and giving you the actual certification. That would be an example of an interested party. They have some requirements that you're going to have to meet. There are some external documents that you would have to have, and that's what this list of external documents is all about on this section here. You want to identify any applicable statutory type of regulatory requirements, things like EHS requirements, safety requirements, things like that, and what external bodies might be interested in auditing you or coming to visit you, such as OSHA or Cal OSHA or somebody like that. I'm in California, so I'm familiar with Cal OSHA, which is a little stricter than federal OSHA. Then you would want to write your quality policy. You would decide on quality objectives, and basically you would write your quality manual. And it would be, although a quality manual is not required in the standard, it's a good idea to have one. And it's a good idea to have one that has all of the corresponding clause elements that are in alignment with the ISO 17025 standard itself, clause by clause, is my recommendation. You would identify your risks and opportunities, and then you'll want to develop some sort of registry of key risks and opportunities, or what is known as a risk register, or that could be a spreadsheet, that could be a document that identifies the risks in the laboratory. There is a risk requirement in section 8.5 of the standard, and there's also a section 4.1 of the standard that talks about risk to impartiality. So you will need some documented evidence of risks and opportunities for improvement. Then you want to identify all processes and procedures that you need. There's approximately 10 to 12 required procedures in the ISO standard, where literally the standard says the laboratory shall have a procedure for dot dot dot, and that procedure shall include A through H or whatever. And there's about a dozen of those procedures in the standard, 10 to 12, depending on whether you are taking any exclusions like sampling, for example. If you're not a lab that goes out and pulls your own samples, then you would basically eliminate the requirement for a sampling plan if samples are sent to you from your clients. That's just an example of an exclusion. So that's why it's 10 to 12 required procedures depending on your laboratory. Then you want to, once you've identified the procedures, you want to write the procedures. You'll want a training procedure, a document control procedure, and a procedure for addressing risks and opportunities. Those would be 3 procedures. Then you would need a procedure for externally provided products and services, i.e. a purchasing procedure. You would need a approved vendor list. You would need a procedure for facilities and environmental conditions, a procedure for equipment and calibration. Then you would need a procedure for customer service, procedure or for test and calibration methods, a procedure for quality assurance, or what the standard refers to as the validity of test results, which is essentially a quality control procedure. A procedure for sampling, we talked about that. If you have samples sent to you, then you would need a procedure for the handling of items received. That's called handling of test items. Then you would need the procedure for complaints, nonconformities, and corrective actions. There is a requirement for a customer complaint process. There's also a requirement for a nonconforming work procedure. And then you want to tie in your corrective actions. There's no requirement for an actual corrective action procedure. However, you want to have a corrective action documentation process like a corrective action log, but you will need to document those. But there is a requirement for a procedure known as non-conforming work, where literally the standard says you shall have a procedure for non-conforming work. Then you want the procedure for evaluation of measurement uncertainty. And then a procedure for testing, a procedure for internal audits, a procedure for management review, and then implement all these processes and procedures that you wrote, and then maintain the appropriate records. Once you've done that, you want to make sure you have an internal audit, conduct a management review, set up your proficiency testing plan, and then you're ready to contact your accreditation body to schedule an outside audit. So those would be the main elements of how to implement ISO 17025. Now, if you are looking at purchasing perhaps a template, I could show you what something would what that would look like. Here I'm on a website that you can, I'll provide a link for you if you're interested in purchasing something like this. But what this is it's an ISO 17025 documentation toolkit. And there is a step-by-step guidance, and you also get live support. So basically what you get is 58 document templates for required procedures and forms that you can, utilize to fill out. You get email support, you get expert review of your documents once you've put them to your own organization's name and that kind of thing. Basically, the way these procedures are written is it'll say organization's name, and you put in your organization's name, and you fill in some key things. But they have all the requirements of each of the individual procedures I just went through in the implementation guide. You also get 1 hour of live one-on-one online training, and this is really for kind of a small and medium-sized lab. And then you get these procedures and templates, quality manual, and a whole bunch of procedures are written by experts. I have used these actual procedures. There's a video here that shows you what these procedures look like. There's some comments teaching you how to fill in the forms and procedures, all the support you need. This particular one is for $897, and you get everything. I mean, everything. Now, if you are interested in getting a toolkit like this, um, and you want to do a hybrid approach, if you purchase a toolkit like this um, from my website, I will give you free support on how to implement the procedures. I'll give you a one-on-one consultation on how to implement the procedures and all of that for free. So essentially, you purchase the toolkit, and I'll walk you through how to implement that. So that's kind of the offer, because I do make a small commission on the toolkit. So if you purchase the toolkit from my website, and I'll provide the link underneath the video, I will give you step-by-step instructions on how to implement the procedures. And then in addition to that, you can get email support also from the company you're purchasing it from. So you kind of get a dual support. Um, I'm very familiar with Advocera. I have actually written procedures for them for other standards. They did a ISO 13485, which is a medical device standard, and they did ask me to write some of their procedures for that toolkit that they now sell. So I'm very familiar with Advocera. I have written some procedures for them, and I do think they're a great toolkit company. I'm familiar with this toolkit. I've used um, toolkits like this in a lot of different consulting efforts, and this is a really good one. It does give you a lot of documentation. Everything you need to implement ISO 17025 is included in this toolkit. Go back to my original article, literally read it, go through it. It's a good value. It's a good read. You'll have I haven't put the video on here yet, but this video will also be on this page, so that you'll also, if you're interested in that toolkit, you can click um, the button right below this video on my website here. Just click on the link in the description box. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you'll come to this page, and you could read this article and then purchase this toolkit. My name is Ralph Martin, signing off. You make it a great day. Take care. I have a feeling I just did something.